everybody, welcome to another episode of Dolly Debauchery's Super Creepy Horror Show here from the Dollhouse. I'm your host, DubsyDoll83, and today I thought I would give you guys a little bit of a background on why I love horror so much. I actually had to jot it down because it's basically a 30-year love affair with horror. I'm almost 34, and I kind of inadvertently happened upon horror as a preschooler. When I was little, we lived in a duplex, and the way our couch was kind of situated, there was kind of a little alcove behind it, and at night when my dad would get home from work, he'd lay on the couch and he'd watch TV. A few of his favorite things to watch were Elvira's Movie Macabre, which he and I ended up starting. Once he realized I was sitting behind it, he was like, you know what am I going to do? So he'd let me watch it with him. So that, Tales from the Crypt, Freddy's Nightmare, which I remember the earliest time I ever saw Brad Pitt on screen was on an episode of Freddy's Nightmare. It was like a weird episode where he runs away and elopes with a girl, and it just, I can't remember the episode exactly. I ended up looking it up at some point, but it's been a little while. So anyways, shows like that, that was where my interest and love affair with horror kind of came from. And, by the time I was in kindergarten, I was pretty much desensitized. Not a whole lot scared me, except for, and the funny thing is, the franchise that ended up becoming my favorite franchise is actually Child's Play. But when I was little, I got a Cricket doll. I don't know if anybody that's around my age kind of remembers I think it was like the My Best Friend dolls and stuff like that. I can't remember what they were called. It was what Chucky basically was based off of, but it was called Cricket. And I got one of those. My mom got one for me. I kept that damn thing in the closet. Was terrified of it. And finally, she sold it in a garage. I never get rid of anything, and the second she said she was having a garage sale, I threw that thing in the garage. So, I was terrified of this doll, but Child's Play ended up becoming my favorite franchise. I'll kind of get to that in a minute, but another funny side story with me is I love Buffy. I even love the TV series, but I loved the original film with Christy Swanson as well. At a poster, I was in elementary school, and I had a Buffy the Vampire Slayer poster, and I used to have nightmares that it was coming to life, so I had to take that down too. Very active imagination. There's a reason I went into writing and aspired to be a filmmaker. Overactive imagination. But yeah, as far as that goes, Child's Play, favorite franchise. My favorite horror bad guy, though, is actually not Chucky, it's actually Freddy Krueger. Because he's just a quirky son of a bitch. I mean, he's a bad guy. He's a real bad guy. He's a child murderer, but I always enjoyed the Nightmare on Elm Street films. For some reason, they just, he's a bad guy, but he's a bad guy that made me giggle. But as far as the Child's Play films go, everybody's kind of got a favorite with their favorite franchise, their favorite, whatnot. And mine is actually, as much as I love the earlier stuff, I loved 1, 2, liked 3. 3 was alright. I loved 1 and 2. 2 was my favorite of the earlier ones, so. Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, those were just kind of, you could tell those were just kind of fun little palate cleansers. I mean, I didn't hate them. I knew what they were. They weren't really supposed to. They followed the story, but only, they were horror comedy, if you will. But when The Curse of Chucky came out, that movie really, I wish it wouldn't have just gone straight to DVD and Blu-ray because it was so good. But I think because of the reception that Seed of Chucky kind of got, studios were kind of, they didn't know they wanted to put it out in theaters. It was fantastic. The only complaint I had the entire film was that I didn't like that Chucky was so CGI heavy. I feel like the scarier Chucky was the first 3 films. There I go, going to sleep. I just need to remember to pay attention to mouse movement. Anyways, the first films were part of what made them so scary was how lifelike the doll was. I feel like using the CGI it robbed the film of something. But other than that, it went back to what Child's Play was before. And just the murderous doll. But one thing I always tell people that haven't seen it, I'm like, okay, they kind of went the Marvel direction. And I tell them, watch the post credits. The post credits are great. They're good. Tiffany comes back and you kind of, but watch the post credits to the very end, because that, I don't want to give anything away, but just awesome. I mean, the post credits to The Curse of Chucky were awesome. And I know that there's supposed to be a seventh film coming out. It's been rumored that it's supposed to be a reboot. I really hope it's not. I really hope it's a continuation of the story. I apologize, my cat is over there messing with crap. So, anyways, I do really hope it's a continuation of the story, because to me that would just, making it a reboot, I mean, after 6 films, rebooting it, to me that's just, I mean, especially when, everybody's so willing to come back. So yeah, that's part of my love of horror, and we will continue. See, my favorite modern horror franchise, I guess I'm just going to continue on that topic before I move on to the next topic, would have to be the Insidious films. I'm really looking forward to Chapter 4. I feel that they took a limited budget, and they didn't rely a whole lot on computer stuff, and they made a bang-up film. I mean, that was one that kept me. There hasn't been another film that I've seen that's really kind of disturbed me, I guess, to the point that it was difficult for me to get it out of my mind, since House on Haunted Hill. And it was just the way that film was made. That and 13 Ghosts had that kind of similar look to them. I mean, and the Insidious films are completely different. But, really, that's my new favorite horror, franchise. I'm still trying to get into Annabelle's. I mean, I saw the first one. The Conjuring, I didn't like the first one, but I liked the second one. And they're all made, by the same production. And so it's like, whatever they did with Insidious, they just need to keep using that formula, because it was amazing. Alright, so now moving on to some of my favorite horror filmmaker. Well, I guess we'll go to literature. So, the books and stuff that really got me into it. As a child, of course, being a child of the early 90s, because I started school in 89, the Scary Stories, the entire series, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, all of that, I remember going to book fairs, and I wouldn't look for anything else except for that and Goosebumps. And my daughter has my Goosebumps collection now, the original books. That Goosebumps and Fear Street, those were the ones that I didn't want to have anything to do with anything else. If it wasn't ghost or horror related, I didn't want anything to do with anything else. The same when I got into middle school and started going to the library. Anything that they had on the supernatural, I was checking it out. So I don't even want to look back on my because that was back when you had to write it in. Yes, we didn't have computers in our library, so I'm sure my punch cards or whatever are epic. That kid was creepy. I wonder if she's a serial killer yet. No, not. Mostly because I'm just too much cleanup, and also I don't look good in orange. So, but yeah. So Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I've grabbed a few books from my very extensive horror collection. I just got a small bit of it up here right now. Most of the rest of my books right now are in our basement because we did kind of a remodel. So my husband made me take down my awesome bookshelf. So I just have a tiny bookshelf now. So this is my original. In fact, I don't know, I guess I got this, I don't know. I guess I got it at a garage sale or something, because my name's not Cameron Wiggins. But yeah, that's right there. I've had this for years. So, and the artwork, is just, let's see, come here, you. going back to sleep on me. It's gonna be a long episode, guys. Stephen Gammell. I actually just recently, I mean, this artwork is just, I love it. So, and I'll be obviously putting, making sure they have their information at the bottom. But I recently went to Los Angeles, actually last August. And part of the reason I went there, I wanted to visit my friend Allison. Hi, Allison. This isn't a spoiler episode, so you can watch it. But she waits to watch my episodes until after she's seen the movie, and then she watches them. But she's my B Fry over on the West Coast, and we went to LACMA to the Del Toro exhibits, and I went to go see At Home with Monsters, and he has some original Gammell artwork. I'll actually, on my Facebook page, I will post some of those pictures from that trip. If you want to head over there, it's the same name as the YouTube channel. But, I grabbed this beauty while I was there. And I absolutely love Guillermo del Toro. In fact, I'm watching The Strain right now. I'm trying to get caught up on it because I have a lot of TV shows I have to get caught up on between this and between Comic Books and Cocktails, which is all comic book based. I've got TV show upon TV show that I'm trying to get caught up on while raising 2 kids and watching movies that I'm trying to get caught up on and working on my own projects. So I've just started watching The Strain, and I'm enjoying it. But this man right here, this guy right here, is one of my all-time absolute favorite filmmakers. He knows how to do monster movies, because he has the love for that type of stuff too. In fact, which kind of leads me to another... Oh, I didn't grab that book. Actually, hold please. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. H.P. Lovecraft, who is one of Del Toro's at LACMA. He has... what the exhibit was at LACMA, it's pieces and parts of his collection. That he actually has, that he let the museums, a couple of museums, have a piece of his collection, for, exhibition. There we go, yeah. I'm terrible at English right now. I've only had a little bit of caffeine today. Anyways, so, a few of his items in his collection are actually wax figures of his idols. H.P. Lovecraft. I took a picture with H.P. Lovecraft. As well as Edgar Allan Poe. As you guys can tell, I enjoy the bargain bin at Barnes & Noble. But yeah, and those guys are a few of my favorites as well. That giant Lovecraft book my husband actually got for a gift for me. He saw that I posted a picture of it, and he went out and dropped some cash on a very nice, full volume of, H.P. Lovecraft. Oh, I hear my dogs tap dancing in the background. So yeah, another favorite author of mine, who is another creepy guy who, I've actually been able to kind of pull my daughter into the world of horror, and then she has continued in with me. It's kind of like passing the love of horror that my father gave to me, Neil Gaiman. And I've, of course, read the original, the Coraline book, and the book is very creepy. Now, I watched the film with my kids, and they love it, and I love it. Tim Burton puts his hands on, anything that, like, Henry Selick, those 2 guys, when they work together, they just, like, they're the kind of guys that I feel like are giving our younger generations that interest and that love in kind of the more macabre type things, the more gothic-y, you know. And my daughter loves The Corpse Bride. She loves all those films, but she also loves, and this is something that I accidentally introduced her to, much like my father accidentally introduced me to horror. Her favorite movie is The Shining, and of course the original, not the made-for-TV one. And Stephen King is somebody that I absolutely adore. Most of my favorite coming-of-age films, if that makes sense, if you can believe it, are actually Stephen King films. Stand By Me was based on a short story that he wrote called The Body. Probably my all-time favorite coming-of-age film. And It, actually, if you've actually watched the film, which of course was based on several miniseries, the original It was a beautiful coming-of-age film. It was a horror film, but it was a horror film about this ragtag group of 7 kids who took care of each other. Now, I can't speak for the film that's coming out in September, which I am super excited about and I will be reviewing, but I'm of the understanding that it's going to be quite a bit more creepy and quite a bit more horror-based. That said, I love that shit, so I'm looking forward to it. But let me see. I have to look at my checklist here to see. Oh, yes. Going back to my dad. Now, my dad passed away when I was 19. My dad was born in 1925, so he was significantly, he was 58 when I was born. But so in 1958, he worked a case. He was a detective. He was a detective sergeant. He's actually right around my age at this time. Sally, honey, can you stop chewing on your toes? Cats. Anyways, he was right around my age, and there was a case in Seaford, Long Island, called the House of Flying Objects. And basically what it was poltergeist activity. But at the time, they didn't know who else to call, so they called the police department. And so it ended up being a case my father investigated, and it was one of the biggest cases that in his career. They wrote articles on it called Popper the Poltergeist, because of the poltergeist activity. Part of it was that the tops of bottles of holy water were just popping off. But that experience and that case went on to inspire what would later be the film Poltergeist. And so there was actually an entire segment on a show about it. For the life of me, I cannot remember the name of the show, but I'm going to look it up right here while y'all are right here in front of me. It was on, let's see. Let's see here. The true story, not the Enfield haunting. I think it was all in the same episode, though. Hold, please. I love how the lighting on this phone just really makes my wrinkles pop out. I cannot remember. Oh, Real Fear. There we go. I want to say that it was like the second or third episode of the show Real Fear, which I think came out in 2012. They interviewed my oldest brother, Paul, for it. And my mom as well was able to send some information. I want to say it was probably the second episode of Real Fear, where they talk about the case my father worked on Seaford, Long Island, which led to the film Poltergeist. And the original Poltergeist, the very first one, not the remake and not the sequels, the very first Poltergeist film is my favorite horror film of all time. Not only because it's just a really well-made horror film, I mean, it's awesome, it's so good, but also because it's that little piece of my dad, and so it's cool to be able to associate my father with so much of my love of horror. He has so much to do with my love of horror. He fed it to me as a child, basically, and then for him to have that, unknowingly end up having that involvement with such a huge film. And so Poltergeist is definitely my favorite film for a plethora of reasons. And actually, my friend Allison that I was talking about, that is another favorite of she and I. She's my kindred spirit. We're kindred evil spirits, and she loves that film as well. So, but yeah, I mean, that's a very cluttered hodgepodge 20 minutes of me telling you guys about why I love horror so much. And that's not even all of it. Actually, too, I've got my stack of books here, my Penny Dreadfuls. That is a show I enjoy, but the Penny Dreadfuls to me are just the epitome of horror because they're just, I mean, some of the Penny Dreadful stories are just gore upon gore, and it's just, but it's fun. It's scary. It's fun. It's creepy. You know, and if you got like the Penny Dreadful comics and stuff, the horror comics, the stuff I'm really interested in that I even, you know, kind of talk about on Comic Books and Cocktails, I'm the dark horse lover, and I am literally the dark horse. You know, I love, anything and everything that's gonna be more, gory and more, or more just creepy. Justice League Dark. I mean, I love that shit. So, I guess I kind of, you know, I attempted to be a goth kid in school for a little while, but it just, wearing all the black washed me out. But I didn't have to be to love what I loved. And, I didn't have to fit into the stereotype of creepy kid in order to love creepy stuff. But one of my favorite things to do as a child, to kind of close this out, one of my favorite things... Hi, Sally. Oh, wait, that's Lizzie. That's my other cat. That's Lizzie. I live in a zoo. Anyway, one of my favorite things to do as a child, we would go camping with my aunt, uncle, and cousins a lot. And my Aunt Carol was the best at telling scary stories. And she got me this book. I grew up in Texas. And she got me this book when I was about, 98. So I would have been about 14. And it's chock full of some of the best scary stories out of Texas. And it's a big state with a major history. We got some crazy stuff going on there, especially in San Antonio. Go figure. Remember the Alamo. But anyways, so, I mean, that is just kind of the tip of the iceberg of my love of horror. I honestly don't even know that, I think I hate on everything. Probably not. There'll be another episode at some point where I continue a continuation of why I love horror so much. But that's just kind of a hodgepodge of why I initially got into horror and some of my favorite things throughout the horror genre. There's so much. There's so many. I used to watch the show Sightings. I don't know if anybody else watched that show, but I love the shit out of the show Sightings. Outer Limits. I mean, oh my god, The Twilight Zone. I watched the old version of it, but I loved the 90s version of it. I don't know. Just the 90s were all about weird shit. So, and yeah, so that's kind of why I do this show. Because I love horror. You know I'm on a comic book based show as well, and I love comic books. I do, but, I love the scary ones. I love, so Danny, my buddy Danny, my best friend, he knew I was going to end up doing this because I was like, I love talking about comic books with you, but what I want to do is I want to talk about some scary shit too. So, this is me just doing my own little show, talking about scary movies. New ones, old ones, indie ones, whatever I'm watching. I'm going to probably review it for you guys. Even if it's, something like... Pet Sematary. I might do an episode on that, just talking about why I enjoyed it, as opposed to giving a review of it, because obviously it's been around for a couple years. The new horror TV shows, like I said, I'm watching The Strain now, so I'll probably talk on that at some point. Just anything and everything horror. I enjoy it. I love it. Halloween is like my Christmas. So, in fact, my daughter, she was born October 30th. She missed Halloween by less than 4 hours. So I'm like, what's up, kid? Seriously? I've got a cat jumping on my desk. So, anyways, that's your jump scare for the night. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll be doing another episode here in a couple of nights. I know this one went a little bit longer than expected, but I won't apologize for it because I love horror. So, we'll be doing another episode here in a few days. I haven't decided what I'm going to review yet. I'm going to be reviewing something, though. Probably a TV show. And then we've got some other cool stuff. Got some other cool stuff up my sleeve as the show progresses. But yeah, if you guys could just give me a like and a subscribe and hit the little notification bell so whenever new episodes pop up, you guys can be the first to catch them. Tell me what you guys want me to watch. Tell me what you're watching. What if you want my opinions on it. I mean, not that I have an expert opinion or anything, but tell me what y'all are watching, what y'all enjoy. Let's just make this a fun horror community for a bunch of us creepy weirdos to come hang out at the dollhouse and talk about why we like scaring ourselves. But anyway, I will see you guys in a couple of days. So stay creepy. I know that was totally lame. I'm still trying to come up with a good tagline for the end, but apparently my dogs have to pee. So I will be back in a couple days with some more cool, fun, creepy stuff. All right, see you guys later.